I know her as Dympna Beckett from 21. Now she's the top block in St. Mary's Crescent, but that's all right. Isn't that right, Jack? That's all right. You're going to read something. Do you want the mic?
I'll take it.
Go back a little bit behind. No.
Yeah. Okay, I'm part of a group here in Mayo, and we're trying to record stories of Mayo people, and not famous people like Kathleen Lynn or Major John McVoy, because there's a lot recorded, but just ordinary people, you know, in our own families, in our own villages, our characters in the town. And we're just inviting everyone in Mayo if they have any stories to share. But one story I was always interested in was when you just go in the gate at Ahawall, in the older section, there's a grave there, and it's for Bridget or Grady. I just pass it around so the people will recognise when they see the grave again. But I decided when I was doing the stories that I'd like to do her story and find out a bit about her. So Bridget came from Clare, but she was the nurse in charge of the workhouse. And she was in 1904, a fever came, but it was typhus. It was a bit longer after than Marty mentioned. It was the typhus fever, and it killed a lot of people in the workhouse. But Bridget herself was looking after her patients and looked after them very well. And as was common in that time, a lot of the priests and a lot of the nurses and doctors, they looked after the patients. When the patients were well, they contacted the fever themselves. So that's what happened to Bridget. And when she was 35, she died of the fever. Now, not a lot was known about her, but when I researched her, I looked up the Mayo News at that time and the meeting of the Westport Board of Guardians, and they discussed the death of her and how kind she was to her patients. And Mr. P.J. Lennon was the workhouse master at that time, and his wife was the teacher. There was always a school in a workhouse as well. Her name was Margaret. And those Lennons, they lived around in Westport for a while after that. But he mentions that the workhouse, the Board of Guardians suggested would they bury her, and he mentioned no, that her own brother Dan and the family wanted to come up and bury her themselves. But that stone, I don't know if anybody knows about it, seems to be quite a recent stone. Do you know, so somebody might be able to tell us. You're pointing at me, or why she didn't have a stone for years. She is actually buried with another work from the workhouse, another nurse from the workhouse who died of the fever shortly before her. But that's all I knew, and I just wanted to contribute her story. So you might pop in and maybe thank her for looking after the people of Westport.